Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Power Network. I'm Amy. Who's ready to head to Weird Watts Island with me today on Weird Watts Wednesday? Well, it appears I'm the last woman standing because we were supposed to have RoseZ with us and something came up with her for her. And then we were going to have Jen from Crafted Evidence with us and something came up with her. Cowboy RC is supposed to be our guest tonight. He's an ex-prison sergeant. We're going to talk about Chris Watts and the possibilities of him remarrying in prison and other prison nonsense. So I'm going to roll the credits while we wait for the rest of the Weird Watts Island to roll in. Special shout out to my Power Replay crew and my dragonflies. I love you. Guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. We all know Dee Dee Blanchard. Whoops, that wasn't the intro. I also wasn't supposed to run the board today, so I am not doing it as smoothly as I usually do. Let me see if I can get the intro up really quick, and then we'll get going. You know what? I only have a Highly Strange Days opening, so just pretend that this is the Power intro. The Highly Strange Days is the intro that we do on Sundays. It's for paranormal stuff, but things feel a little paranormal today, so here we go. Hey guys, welcome to Highly Strange Days. I'm Amy.
And I'm Shannon.
My neighbor Jennifer sits all alone. She dreams of flying up to the moon. And she thinks it's the perfect night for dreaming and make believing.
I think it's a perfect day to speculate whether Chris Watts is going to remarry. What do you guys think? Before we get started, I am waiting for Cowboy RC to join me still backstage. But we have a sponsor, you guys. Yes, we do. We have a sponsor. So in my younger days, because I have hormonal issues and autoimmune issues, I would sweat quite a bit and I couldn't wear pretty clothing because I would sweat through the armpits. I'm not really sure if anyone else has that problem. It's not such a horrible thing to have when you're a woman, but I would use prescription deodorants. And because I use prescription deodorants so long, I really don't sweat anymore. But, you know, I still have to worry about odor and that stuff. And I've been asked to do sponsorships before and sent it, and I decided I didn't like it. This happened twice, but this is, I guess, the third time's the charm, because Wild Deodorant contacted me and they asked me if they could sponsor our podcast, and I said, sure, I would love that. So the cool thing about Wild Deodorant is they come in these little refillable containers, and these are all are not plastic, they're all paper, so nothing is plastic, and you get these shells that you can just refill. I've got one in right now, and you just refill it when you need it. So it's very little waste. Here, let me show you a little ad that I have for this product. And I don't have anything ready because of all the problems I had in the beginning. But here, let me show you.
The planet is filling with plastic, and unless we can find a sustainable alternative, we'll all die, and our kids will die, and our kids will die, and our kids. On the agenda today, humans and single-use plastics.
Let's just kill all the humans.
Kill them all. Extinction is one idea, sure, but what about something a little less stabby? Introducing Wild, the refillable natural deodorant that's free from single-use plastic, helps humans save the planet, reduce waste, and not smell like a skunk.
Blowhole?
I wouldn't recommend putting it on your blowhole. Aww. Wild tames even the most feral funk with a clinically proven formula that guarantees 24-hour odor protection, neutralizing stank-causing bacteria with plant-based power, and no aluminum.
Aluminium?
I've heard it both ways. With Wild, you can smell like your wildest dreams.
Like tearing into a fresh mango while the sticky juices dribble onto your nude body.
That's vivid. But more like jasmine and mandarin blossom, coconut and vanilla, orange and neroli, or fresh cotton and sea salt.
Mama?
Here, take a whiff.
Ooh.
Wild's wide range of scents appeal to every nose. Click the link to save your pits and your planet with Wild.
Do you have anything for sensitive skin?
Wild offers options for sensitive skin that's totally BS free. Baking soda. Walking on the wild side is easy. Just use your opposable thumbs to choose your favorite color and scent, customize and engrave your case, and voila! Create a better smelling future totally tailored to you and the planet. Look. I know humans may not have the best history with the environment.
You on everything that is holy.
But Wild is all about making simple choices right now to create a fresher, more sustainable future for everyone. So instead of filling up a landfill, refill your Wild case with the stick of your choice. Because making one small change can have a huge impact on your plastic footprint.
Flipper print.
And make life feel more wild.
Anyone else feeling horny for Wild?
So I will put the link down in the YouTube show notes for this little thing. And you will get a 20% off with your first order with our Parawomen. The code is Parawomen and the link is there up on the screen. I will also put it in the YouTube show notes. This works really well for me and I would not bring it to you if it didn't. They also in the intro pack sent me, they have shower gel. So they have the cases that match. They have some really cute cases too. I didn't get to pick the case. This probably wouldn't have been my first choice in case, but it's still very pretty. It matches my bathroom. So anyway, if you would like to support us, it would be wonderful. It would help us out tremendously. And any support you give to us is welcome. My microphone is falling. Hold on a second. Any support is welcome, and thank you so much. So I think I see Cowboy RC is here with us. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up, guys. Helps us dance out into the algorithm, party out there, bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help us out, and it's really, really appreciated. So today we're going to talk about Chris Watts and the possibility of, oh, it looks like Jen's here too. Jen had a problem, but it looks like maybe she worked it out. Let me bring Jen up real quick just before I bring Cowboy RC up. Hey, Jen, what happened?
Hey guys, I can stick around for a little bit. I've had a family emergency, which I'm going to go tend to here in a little bit, but I wanted to drop in and show my support.
Okay, so Cowboy RC is here. Let's bring him up. Hi, Cowboy RC. Cowboy RC, I should have said really quick too, Cowboy RC is an ex-prison sergeant, knows a lot about the ins and outs inside of prisons. He's been on our channel once before. He follows the Watts case, so he is the perfect person to be here on Watts Island with us. Hi, Cowboy. Oops, did he freeze? Did all of you freeze?
I think he's frozen. He was moving there for a minute. RC, are you with us?
Oh, and I can hear myself. I'm going to take you out down Cowboy RC. You might need to leave and come back, okay? Because you're froze. And I could hear myself through your
Oh, he has it up maybe.
microphone, I think. How are you doing, John, besides what's going on?
I'm okay. I actually messaged the nurse and I said, can we get this going now? You know how when your insurance runs out at the end of the month, I'm like, let's do this. So I'll tell you all about that later. But otherwise, doing good. We had some really bad storms yesterday. Did you guys get that too or no?
We've been getting storms off and on. We're going into hurricane season.
Yep.
You know, I think he's back.
Okay.
Okay, you're back.
There you are.
You were froze.
I
Uh-oh.
think he's muted. Check
Are
your
you
mute.
muted? I don't see his mouth moving.
His mouth moved there for a moment.
I don't see
And
his
now
mouth.
damn, don't you hate when this happens? It's like, it always works when you practice, and then when you get live, it glitches.
Well, it's StreamYard. I'm going to kick you one more time, Cowboy RC. You're going to have to come back. You might, I should have said it before he left. Maybe he can change devices. That worked last time. If you have another device, if you don't, I totally understand. But
while Amy is doing that, you guys, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. And as she always says, hit those emojis. Let's jump this out into the algorithm.
oh, hey, by the way, congratulations on reaching 5K.
No, I actually just noticed that, and I was like, you know what? I need to get a little 5K balloon and do a thank you video. So
Yeah.
very exciting.
Okay, he's back. Let's see if it works. Hi. Is it
You guys got me
working?
now?
There we go.
You're freezing.
Yeah. I changed network.
Okay, yeah, that's
Okay,
better.
it's better anyway. So people are saying hi to you in chat. How are you doing? Oh, drats. I don't know if it's working. I feel like freezing. I just do.
Right.
It's been so hard getting online today.
That is a bummer because I'm really
Is he
looking forward to
moving?
asking a questions.
He moves and sometimes
You guys have me?
Okay,
I
I hear
just
you.
heard you now. Cowboy, I don't think it's gonna, I don't know what's going on.
Can you use your data by any chance instead of Wi-Fi? See if that maybe does the trick.
Yes.
Well, you're on now. We can hear you.
You just moved. Can you hear us?
Yeah, do you guys have me live now? I kept hearing like a replay in the background.
Yeah, I can hear someone. Someone's got something up in the background. I don't see anything on my end, so I don't know what I don't know why I can hear.
I had to go on mobile network. They're doing internet.
I think maybe we should reschedule Cowboy RC. I was thinking it would be good to have him on a wellness file because Cowboy RC, now I can hear myself. There's some huge playback.
Because I'm on my phone too and I don't have anything up.
I can't move to a different device.
Try it. Should we let him come back in one more time before we officially give up? Hey, can you hear us?
So I was thinking we're having internet problems today, but I was thinking, could you come back on Friday for a wellness files and we could talk about, so I know you're into fitness and you have a mobile fitness company, and you know how Chris Watts got really into fitness. We could look at the Lavelle and the fitness that he was doing, and we could compare it to see if he was really doing what was right. Well, obviously he wasn't, but
Right.
I thought that would be something good for our wellness files, because I can't seem to get it to work.
Yeah, he kind of keeps going in and out, and that I know it's going to frustrate the chat, especially when we're talking about good stuff.
Did you hear what I said though? Did you get all of that?
You guys have me?
Yeah, we were chatting about rescheduling with you since it keeps going in and out.
Yeah, hopefully I have it solved now. They're doing internet maintenance here in my area, and I had to go to network. If not, I'll have to try it a different day.
Well, we could.
Can you talk and see? I want to see if it's Jen that I'm hearing the feedback.
Hello.
Yeah, Jen, it's you that I'm getting the feedback on. Sorry, guys. This is out of my control. This is like StreamYard and internet stuff. But
yeah, it's Spectrum's problem here in Wyoming. Our whole neighborhood's been jacked up for 2 days, so I had to go back to data and mobile hotspot.
Yeah, that sucks.
It does. I used to work for them. I wish they'd get their problem solved.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I spent 2 years as a field tech for them here in this town.
I think my neighbor used to work for internet, because he's helped me a few times when I've had problems. There was this big RV that drove down the street and just took out all the lines. And he came out and tied it up for me until the people came out. So
yeah, I think I have it solved now. Hopefully, my stuff kept going in and out yesterday morning too at home. So
hey, Jen. Hi, Jen.
Okay, I got on my laptop. I can't stay long, but I did want to be able to ask RC some questions.
Okay, well, let's start. Why don't you start with the questions?
Okay, so I've heard about your background, and I recently did a request for, what is the latest with Chris Watts, and it looks like he has had contact visits with a gal named Lizzie. I'm not going to say the last name, just for her protection. Can you tell us a little bit about, I know each visit is different, and the number one thing people are saying, is he getting conjugal visits? And from what I've seen in Wisconsin, you don't. But can you explain a little bit about the process for those visitations?
Well, typically, I did this for years. I had to check in visitors. They would come in, show their ID. We would make sure they were on an approved visitation list. And then we would run them through a metal detector or a handheld wand to make sure they didn't have any guns, knives, pipe bombs on them. Pat them down usually as well. Go through anything they were bringing in, which is a very restrictive list. Such as where I worked, they were able to bring some change in for the vending machines. If they had a child with them, they could bring a diaper bag and diapers and wipes and some powder. That was kind of about it.
Wow.
Usually very restrictive. A lot of facilities now have a policy where they're allowed a hug when they come in. They're allowed one hug when they leave. That's it. A lot of times they'll be required to keep a distance between themselves and the offender, usually across a table. There is some variance there in facilities, but most of them seem to have been pretty standardized now. They can't give inmates anything while they're there, obviously due to the contraband passage. They're pretty well monitored.
Some of these visits I looked at were about 3 hours long. Is there a restriction on how long? I mean, I was shocked to know that he can spend 3 hours with someone.
That sounds correct for general population visitation. It's usually a window in between count times, which will be about 3 hours in between formal counts in a penitentiary.
They're
right.
all 3 hours, so that seems to be the standard, I think.
That's standard for any contact visitation. Even non-contact would usually fit in the same window.
I have been getting this in chat a lot too. People asking his parents don't visit anymore. I did not see their name on the list. I heard
That's
that
because
Ronnie,
they visited that January. Your list started in March, so I don't think you got January. They visited in January of 2024.
I heard they visit once a year. And I did hear Ronnie had a stroke, so he may have some restrictions traveling, like maybe he's on oxygen or, who knows what could be going on. But I think they do FaceTime visits. So like RC, how does that work with tablets? Do they get the tablets whenever they want, or is it certain hours they get to use their tablet?
I can actually tell you that they don't have tablets yet in his prison. I researched it, and they're coming, but he doesn't have them yet.
Good. Yeah, we didn't have tablets when I retired. Thankfully, I would guess that it would be along the lines of how a lot of these places do virtual court appearances anymore, and that really ramped up during COVID.
Right.
And where I live, I've actually set in on some on the other side virtual court appearances broadcast from the local state penitentiary here. I've had access to view them, through the legal side here and seen how they work. I'm going to guess their visitation's probably set up that way where they dial in almost like a Zoom call. Supervised, though.
Why
Of course,
show
they're
up
still going to have to
anyway?
supervise it.
If it's no contact, why go anyway?
Yeah, exactly. Just that was typically more of a local visitor thing. Most of the time, our inmates were placed on non-contact visitation status if they were under disciplinary segregation.
Do we know if Chris's is non-contact?
From what
actually, there was a picture. There was a contact because we have a picture of Ronnie and Cindy and Chris on that January visit. So
yeah, I do know it says visit type on the document I requested, and I have seen before where it will say video visit, it will say phone call, and it will just say contact for actual face-to-face contact.
That makes sense.
So. Yeah, I mean, by the looks of this, I have to think it's a girlfriend.
Probably some fangirl. Yeah. The mentality I've never understood. Not throwing shade, I just don't understand what's in it for these ladies who get involved with that. But
it does make me wonder if she herself, and I have been, doing background on her, but I don't plan to do a video. I'm not, looking to shame her. But I wonder if she has her own past criminal background and maybe reached out to Chris saying, hey, I know what you're going through. I was locked up once, but it also could just be a total normal woman, who's thought he was attractive and wrote to him. We've seen that happen too.
Likely, I would say. Usually, if they would have a hardcore criminal background and they're not family, then they wouldn't be allowed to enter the facility to visit. So, likely just some sort of infatuation with a bad boy. Everybody wants a bad boy until they do bad stuff to them, in my opinion.
Well, do you think he could possibly be a reporter or a writer?
I don't think so, because I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't spend my Christmas with Chris Watts. Even if I was writing a book on it.
Was it on Christmas?
I think so. I think it was.
Oh, yeah, it was. 12.
And I want to say it was either Thanksgiving or the day after Thanksgiving, which most people are spending their Thanksgiving right with their family, and maybe going to a movie after the day after or something, and they have traditions. Yeah. So that's why I'm leaning towards girlfriend personally.
And why is there only one visit? December. I think maybe she doesn't live close because she traveled in December because there's only one visit.
I think she moved closer because do you see, I don't have the sheet in front of me, but
it's right in front of us right here.
Yeah. it's hard for me to read that, but she did visit like 3 times in February. And the only reason it goes up to February, I had to have a cutoff. So I'm going to do another request, which shit, it might take 3 months to get back, but I'll do February to June so we can kind of see what's going on. But she visits in a time frame where it would be way too expensive to rent a hotel, to have that gap.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm leaning towards she maybe moved to the area.
Well, Banfield
that would make
reported
sense.
that she wants to get married. He wants to get remarried, which took me by complete shock. What do you think about him getting remarried, you guys?
I think it's heartbreaking that Chris gets to feel all of these feelings again, like the butterflies and these feelings that Shanann will never have the opportunity to feel again. And I feel that is the greatest freedom for him.
Well, he didn't apparently even really know what love was unless he discovered that inside somehow. So I don't know why he'd want to do it again. And there are ladies who like to marry these guys to get benefits too. That is, I live in a prison town. I grew up in the prison town. There's a whole subset.
Would they get?
They can, like in this town, some of them were living in 2-bedroom apartments for which they were charged $47 a month. Benefits like that. They qualify for some of that. Yeah, they built an apartment complex here for
I don't
that.
know this, but do inmates, I know they have some type of health insurance, but if your spouse gets locked up, are you on that insurance as well? I'm sure it's not very great insurance by any means, but that's something I've always wondered about too. Okay.
No, they are.
So it's not like that kind of benefit where she would more maybe a for show benefit, like, hey, I'm married to Chris.
It is, and they can get certain welfare benefits because the family income is below a certain level, and then you look at SNAP benefits, Medicaid, things like that, due to a poverty level because they may have a limited income and the spouse is locked up. Although I do believe some states, and I'm not very well versed in this, have clamped down on that stuff due to that reason for people marrying guys who are already serving a life sentence, whom they didn't know on the outside, just so they could, get benefits.
I'll be right back, guys. I got to grab my phone charger. Hold on.
Michelle wants to know, how does Chris even get to have a girlfriend and want to get married in prison? And then, we have put 2 and 2 together. Ashley Banfield is reporting that he wants to get remarried. And we have this Lizzie Owl that has been burning up the visitation with him. So there it is. Yeah. What do you think?
They do it through. Oftentimes that kind of stuff starts through prison ministries and outreach, in-reach programs, letter writing, etc., and then it grows from there. You can't cut them off from the world entirely while they're in there, and that's how these things begin. Or so-and-so down the cell block has a sister who knows another lady, and they finagle it where they can start getting put on correspondence lists and later phone lists and then visitation lists. It takes a little time, but they do it, obviously.
Yeah.
And they do it well.
It sounds like that's how it kind of works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you explain?
What if this Lizzie is well off because prison relationships aren't cheap? Just Google prison relationship costs, phone calls, travel, etc. So she's putting money on his books, I would assume, and
hell yeah.
I have seen that. I have seen that before too. We had a lady here who visited one of our inmates for a long time, and she was the daughter of a dentist who was doing just fine. Actually, she got killed in a car crash coming to visit him, doing over 100 miles an hour outside of town because she was running late. But I've seen some of that too. They're not always just poor, they're not poor people there's no specific demographic and no rhyme nor reason on how they get together.
Yeah. I watch
Love
a
is
show, you
blind.
guys. It's my guilty pleasure. It's called Love After Lockup. Have you guys ever seen it?
I've seen some of it.
It documents kind of the whole process you go through dating someone and then how hard it is when they come out. And they have to adapt to this new world, right? Of being out in public versus kind of being taken care of on the inside.
Do you like to watch that stuff, Cowboy RC, since you used to work it? When I was a social worker, like I would sometimes watch that Intervention, but then I started feeling like I was working at home too, so I stopped doing that kind of stuff. Do you feel like that?
I don't so much anymore. Just because I lived it long enough, you know that. Yeah, I mean, I still have dreams of it 20 years after I retired, for crying out loud.
You said you have post-traumatic stress from the sounds.
Oh,
I do. Sounds, noises, banging. I mean, there were times when I was working in segregation, and you get 12 inmates down there all kicking their cell door because they're pissed at something hour after hour, and you walk out of there and you feel like your head is that big. Your head hurts so much.
I would imagine you feel like you're going crazy.
You do. They used to start fires down there. They could smoke in our facility at the time. We used to issue them matches, for crying out loud. They would make match head bombs, start fires, stuff like that. So, geez, I mean,
that makes me wonder. Can you explain how the commissary works? Like, how do they get cigarettes and things like that? Is it a once a week visit, once a month, or can you go any time of day?
Usually, our inmates would have it once a week, depending upon their, in general population. Now, in segregation, different levels of segregation, they could put in orders for limited items, but that would typically be a once a month thing if they had money on their books. But it was usually once a week in general pop, and it would open up in a caged little store. And if they had the money on their books, they could purchase the things in there. And then our facility went non-smoking or tobacco-free in 2004. So that ended all of that.
Did they literally go shopping, or is it more of I put down on a list and circle what I want and they bring it to the cell?
In segregation, they would do that, and they would send in a commissary request list. And then in general pop, when it was open, then they would basically go there and go shopping.
Okay.
We had an officer who worked it. Activity. Yeah, we had an officer who worked it and an inmate helper assigned to them in this little store, and it was all caged in, and they could walk around, and they would ask for certain things they could see. They couldn't go through everything and pick it up, but that's how it worked. And then they would tally it up, and the officer would verify via computer that they had enough money and they weren't on any restrictions, and they would get their order.
Wow.
I think you can pre-order too, and you can just go pick it up. I've seen a lot of prisoners.
And so
but I would think when you're locked up all day, wouldn't it feel good to actually walk in and look? Think about how I don't know, you go into Target and sometimes it's fun to just look at what's on the shelf. It makes you feel free.
Oh, commissary day, probably a huge day in the prison.
Yeah.
Very huge day, yeah. They would verify that they weren't on any disciplinary commissary restriction and had the money for what they had tallied up, and then they would get it in a paper bag, Wow. Get it handed to them just like they were coming out of a little grocery store.
Well, I saw also Jody Arias is an artist, and she does these paintings that she sells. Well, someone sells them for her, but she does it, while she's locked up. I didn't know that you could send paint supplies and things like that. I would think you could make a weapon out of a paintbrush. I don't know if she's using a paintbrush, but how do they go through the mail? What's that process like?
The facility where I worked, our mailroom staff x-rayed incoming mail and packages. When we opened our new facility from which I retired, because I worked 2 different ones. I worked one that we had open when I began my career, and then we built another one in town and closed down the other one. Moved up the hill about a mile and a half to the new facility and operated it. They bought X-ray machines for that purpose.
Yeah, Jody actually got in trouble running
Um,
her business. I just want to pop in and say Jody actually got in trouble. She had to stop doing it. But sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that used to be pretty wide open when I started in corrections in 1990, and then the authorities, tax authorities, state, federal authorities really clamped down on all that, because then you have usury, you have not paying taxes, stuff like that going on, So if you're going to operate it, we had inmates who were making a lot of money tying flies for fishing. You would have one who was in charge of it, and then about 20 guys working for him in a little hobby shop, and they were selling them to sporting goods companies all over here and making a lot of money, but they weren't paying federal income tax and stuff, so they had to put the regulations in place. Yes, yeah, they had quite the enterprise going on.
Don't they make money too by opening stores? Like they buy a bunch of commissary and then they'll sell from their cell?
They make illegal money that way. Yeah, they're not supposed to. Not that is forbidden. Because then you have guys who get in debt to them a bunch, and then somebody ends up shanked.
I wonder if Chris Watts has a store. Seems like he would have a lot of money on his commissary, so that might be something he could do.
He would be the type of sneaky little bugger to do that. I just sense something about him. That's one of the first things I thought. Well, he's probably got a store where he's probably getting strong-armed for commissary so they don't kick his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be nice, honestly, if they switched him to a different prison, because how long has he been there now? Is it 7 or 8 years? I imagine he's 7. I think he's probably pretty comfy, right?
I think he went in 2019. So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And so I imagine when you switch prisons, that shakes it up for you too mentally. Like,
it does. That's a common That's a common thing authorities do with gang members. We used to do that. We'd rotate guys every couple of years because they would be a big fish in the little pond of Wyoming running a yard. And so then we'd send their ass to like Walla Walla, Washington, or somebody we had agreements with, and take one of their dudes in return. And that calms their jets pretty quick.
I think Chris knows that, and he's not going to make waves because he knows that he's in danger, and he feels pretty safe where he is, and I don't think he wants to go anywhere.
Yeah, he said he was scared shitless in Colorado.
Yeah,
so he probably
he'll
shouldn't
like
have
it
said
there.
that, but
and he probably, maybe he realizes this and maybe he doesn't, but anytime they could roll up on his cell with a property card at midnight and pack him up, and he has no say in it. It's just,
and
you
that's
live where
what
they say
happened
you're going to live.
to Menendez brothers. Like, I guess they rolled up on them and they were separated them, but they don't even have to tell you where you're going, right? It's just
they will not, because they don't want your ass out there hopping on the phone to communicate to somebody who could break you out.
Wow.
In transit. Yeah. Anytime you're transported anywhere, whether it's to court, now they have to let you know when a court date is, but court, medical, all that, they tell the inmate absolutely nothing, because somebody could be waiting for the transport van and to get their beloved out and kill the officers, and you have an escape.
Wow. Yeah. Remember that
That's
story,
why
you guys, a while back about the woman who was a prison guard? God, what was her name? And she was in cahoots with an inmate, and she actually pretended to be transferring him to like court. And they went together.
And she shot herself.
You got in a cruiser and took off together. Yes, I remember watching the Sally. I remember watching the Sallyport video when she took him out and they drove off and they were in it together.
There was a series made about her, like a mini series. I can't remember.
Imagine you do start a bond in a relationship with people. I remember reading in one of Watts's, one of the books he helped write, on the day of his sentencing, he said he was obviously distraught. And one of the guards came over and said to him, "Can I pray with you?" And the two of them just prayed. And I was like, wow, that takes
Well,
a
they
lot.
can get information from Chris Watts, right? You've said like the guards want to keep him because they can probably get info.
Yeah. If he's in fear for his life that much and stuff, and he was always Mr. Helpful on the outside, so he might be a good source of snitch information if you need it.
Snitchy.
I loved inmates who had that helpful bone in them because, they want to get along with us, and they were more. Yeah. And if they had a little bit of fear in them, like protective custody inmates, because they were the type who would give you information.
Yeah, and he wants to be liked so badly. Remember when he was apologizing to Coder and being like, "I'm sorry I lied to you." And Coder said, "I've never had one person ever say I'm sorry for lying except for you." So I imagine he probably does snitch all the time while he's in there and tries to be the helpful guy. And thank you, LK, for the donation there.
Yeah, I could see that out of him. I'm not saying it's true because obviously I don't know, but I've seen that type enough to say that I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it one bit.
Yeah, he cares so much what people think about it.
He doesn't have any.
Thanks, LK.
He has no self-awareness and any introspection on himself, but he always is worried about what everybody else thinks. Doesn't even like himself, but he wants everybody else to like him.
How would therapy sessions work for an inmate who wanted to take advantage? We know Gypsy Rose didn't take advantage of it. But if Chris were mentally struggling, would that be a weekly thing? Is it daily? I know the Aurora, Colorado shooter was seeing a psychiatrist, and those videos actually went out on YouTube if you've ever seen them. And it, pretty scary to watch someone have a session like that.
Oh, yeah. Probably weekly. It depends on what type of programming the casework team came up with for him. But in fact, when I was growing up, from the time I was a teenager up until he retired, I used to play golf with our prison psychologist.
Wow.
Doctor. He was a doctor, and I used to mess with him. I had this little habit of trying to see if I could putt left-handed. And we were playing around one time, and I kept putting left-handed. On about the fifth hole, Doc says, "I didn't know you were left-handed." I said, "I'm not. I just like to see if I can make them." And he said, "You could probably make me believe whatever you wanted me to." I said, "I don't know, but it's just fun, But I knew one very well, and usually weekly with those inmates, they would have sessions, sometimes group sessions too.
Do you think Chris is individual? What do you think? Do you think Chris is probably seeing one?
He probably is because I think he might be, but he's probably not being truthful, only in hopes that it makes him look good to the authorities. I don't know if it would be a genuine thing with him. I've seen it a lot when guys would go to that just to suck up to the parole board, hoping they'll get out. That's it. They'd participate in all the programming they could just to make it look good for parole hearings.
Yeah, and you're just get out of the cell, right?
I think he still thinks he's going to get out. I know that he didn't go for that, but I think eventually he thinks that his Christianity and his good deeds are going to get him out. I do think he thinks that.
I do too. A lot of them find Jesus on the jailhouse floor, hoping they'll get out too. I've seen those conversions a million times. Oh my goodness. The first thing I thought when they talked about how he found God, I'm like, well, hell, they all do.
Yeah,
not to be a jerk, but I've seen it. I mean, that's
what else do they have?
A very old game. Yeah, that's a very old game, and that's one of the few books they'll give them on intake. So
is the Bible.
Yeah,
they'll get kind of creative and become Wiccan or something like that, but it's some form of spirituality.
Wiccan, you have Native American religions, sweat lodge ceremonies. They allow them to participate in. Yes.
Wow. Those are dangerous too. You could pass out. The
We
sweat
had
ones.
to provide them with a sweat lodge area, and we had a
Wow.
tribal leader from the reservation here in northern Wyoming come down and
Like a shaman?
consecrate it. Yeah, and
Well,
do
for
what
the
they
Native
do. And yeah,
Americans, that's like taking communion. So it is
it
something
is.
that they do in their ceremonies. So I
Yeah.
understand that, but yeah.
And we
Um,
couldn't search it. We couldn't search their
oh, you
little
couldn't
hut.
search
And
it. I don't
Oh,
understand that.
we had assaults happen in it and SA action in it and everything else too. And I'm not demeaning
wow.
that train of thought by any means. I have some Cherokee blood way back in my ancestry, but that anything that's hidden like that can be a problem security wise.
Well, there shouldn't. I mean, you should be able to search it. That's ridiculous. Like you
Yeah.
don't let
Religious,
you don't
How
let
do
them go
you
into the
trust?
chapel by themselves. So why not search a sweat lodge?
you can't go through certain religious items, including the Native American inmates are allowed to carry a little medicine bag around their neck, and you cannot look in it.
Wow.
You cannot search that.
Well, that's the best place to hide something, right?
Precisely. Yeah, we were
Well, can
prohibited
a
from
dog,
searching that.
can they have a dog sniff it to see if it hits?
Yeah, now if you were doing a sweep with a scent dog and they got up on it, then you have a probable cause and
Okay.
you could get a warrant actually through a judge, but as
What
correctional officers
percentage
we
of
could
Native American do they have to be?
I think it was a quarter from what I recall. I could be wrong. Either an eighth or a quarter. We had a lot of really lily white guys carrying them around too, so I'm not sure. Not
I
being
know.
racist, but you know.
Searching for my quarter if I was in prison, just
Yeah,
so
I
I could
mean,
have a little purse around my
yeah.
neck.
Yeah, that was
Sorry.
crazy. I mean, I knew one who carried nitroglycerin tablets in his. So
Oh,
in fact, I
Ooh.
shoved one in his gullet when he had a heart attack once. So, but
Wow.
it was, yeah, it was crazy. But a
We
lot of them do play the religion in prison. It's a thing.
it
we
is.
talked to a gal named Jamie who actually took part in helping Chris and Dylan Tallman get a book published, and it was called The 40-Day Devotional, which it got pulled.
Right.
And in spite of that, that's why Dylan wrote The Cell Next Door. He was mad that, Chris backed out.
Yeah.
But Jamie actually told Amy and I that he was a great writer. And we were kind of surprised to hear that. She said he wrote a lot of these, but also Chris has a photographic memory.
Oh, he does. Yeah.
I don't doubt that he may be on the spectrum. I don't think he ever got an official diagnosis, but a lot of people on the spectrum do have a photographic memory.
Does. He's got talents. Now, he's not a completely stupid person.
Right.
He's got talents. I'm firmly convinced that most people on the face of the earth have redeeming qualities. Now, I did meet some who were incarcerated whom I didn't think had any more value than a dead dog, but they were very, very few. It's a shame he didn't completely use those talents for good and not stray into whatever the hell went down there. The dynamic still confounds me.
Yeah, and it's like, how do you think you have the right to get out? Like, yeah, maybe you do have a new purpose in your life, but it's behind bars, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're going to serve your purpose where you belong. Precisely.
Right.
Number one, and what troubles me on the whole thing is in order to get out, then you need to tell the truth. And you need to tell the truth that can be backed up by evidential facts. That plea deal that he struck with prosecutor should have been, in my opinion, a proffer deal in which you tell the whole truth. And they investigate that to see if it lines up with what you just told them, and then they accept the deal, not that they just accept your word. And that's what's troubled me from the get-go. That without that, then it should have gone to a freaking trial. And I'm not saying he's not guilty, but it should have gone to a damn trial.
Right. I do hope that they go back and visit Chris. They said that they might pop up on him again. I wish that they would say, are you willing to take a polygraph? And I would love, if I were the DA, I would be like, will you take a polygraph for us and ask the question, did anyone assist you in the crime? And that would put a lot of this crap to rest, right? Like to just have him do the lie detector. I know they're not 100% accurate, but
It's what we
I
got.
feel like that would help a lot of people kind of let go and feel a little more at peace with the case.
I agree. I would like to see them do that and ask the pointed questions, as you stated. Did anyone assist you in this crime
Right.
to which you've confessed? Did you take the life of Bella? Did you take the life of Celeste alone?
Right.
Each one of those.
Did
And
you have
take
help
the
after cleaning
Exactly.
up? I mean, so many questions could have been asked that were not asked. And I know they did their best, but I feel like they should revisit it. I know he has nothing to gain from it. Maybe they could give him some extra commissary days or days outside to get him to do it again. But I think that would help DA Rourke get people off of his back, right?
It would help. It would help closure, and I think it would help society, and maybe they could pitch it to Mr. Good Guy that way that, will you please help us understand this and set the record straight so that others don't find themselves in the situation that you were.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that, so this tragedy doesn't get repeated. Mr. Good Guy, please, the Lord would want you to, whatever it takes,
Right. Remember when they said, "You're different, Chris"? You know,
he's
like, you
different,
could just
all right.
tell they were playing up to his ego. They're like, "I walked away and I thought Chris is different, don't you think?" You know, they
he's different.
Yeah,
exactly. You're not the usual killer we see. You're special. Yeah.
Everybody likes you, Chris.
That's right. You're special. We love you. Yeah, maybe they could appeal to him in some vein to get the actual truth out of him. Maybe they could appeal to him, say, "Hey, look, your dad almost lost his life with these health issues. Wouldn't you like to set the record straight? At least help your old parents out before they pass on, that they can go to their great beyond, knowing the truth with a little peace in their heart." Something like that. You got to play this fool and spin it somehow.
What do you think's going to happen to Chris when his parents cross over? Do you think Jamie's going to maintain contact with him?
I do not.
I don't.
Jen, what do you
She's not
think?
on the visitor list either. She hasn't gone to see him.
No, I think she wants it as far away from that fool as she can get. Probably for self-preservation and for that of her children, I would think that is the best thing.
He's destroyed her life too.
Yeah.
Like,
he has.
Destroyed the neighbor's life. Nate had to move away. Like, so many people
Nate,
just
Nicole
destroyed.
Atkinson,
I mean,
people like that.
Yeah.
Probably even her old teacher. You know, just the peripheral damage that caused is just insane. You know.
Even the investigators that had to bring the babies' bodies out of the tank, they're scarred for life.
One of them had to retire because he couldn't handle that anymore, and would see a little girl and think about them again. I mean, and they'll never forget it. I saw a whole bunch of crap in my life I'll never forget. You don't forget that stuff. Like, for instance, we had an inmate gutted basically with typewriter pieces by two other inmates on St. Patrick's Day one year because he was a snitch. When you look into a cell and it looks like you see the sun coming up and the sun shining through and hitting the floor of a cell, and it looks like somebody gutted a deer in a place, you'll never forget that. You see the blood on the ceiling because the victim pumped it up there. I mean, that kind of stuff, especially when you're like, I was 24 years old at the time. I mean, your brain's finally finishing off developing, and you see that kind of stuff, you'll never forget that. It sticks with you, man.
Yeah.
Just, when you see the worst of humanity for so long, and then those specific instances, good night, man. It does. It stays with you.
It's
I feel
what
bad
happened
for them.
When I worked as a social worker in foster care and figured out the cruel stuff people do to little babies. It stays with you.
I hear about some of it through the system, my ties in the system, and not even the tip of the iceberg, and I couldn't imagine that. Just what people do to children. It's bad enough when I see what they do to animals. We do dog rescue, you know. And
I had to
children,
leave.
I just couldn't handle that.
I had to leave it when I got a baby in my care that the dad gave him the H simplex. I was like, I'm just done. I can't. I cannot anymore. I took care of the baby. And the only good thing that like when you don't know if you're doing good stuff in the world, like you're trying to do good stuff, but you don't know. The only time that I know I've done something well by a child or by somebody was through that. Like it came back to me 15 years later. I met the child and they like thanked me for what I did. But it's just so hard. It's just so hard. And I can't imagine being a prison guard because it is a bit like a social work job, but you don't get any of like well, I mean, maybe you did. You became a sergeant, right? So
yes,
you did get prestige, but
a little bit, not a
is
lot,
getting a
but,
little better. Yeah, not a lot.
Yeah, the pay is a hell of a lot better than when I started. When I started working for the state of Wyoming, we were making $8.07 an hour when you break it down.
Are you kidding me?
No, an officer with a wife and a child could apply for welfare. It took me almost 10 years and 2 promotions to get. No, it took me almost 10 years and 1 promotion and some longevity pay to get where I was making over $2,000 a month.
Wow. And it's like a thankless job too, it's
the public doesn't care what you do as long as you keep them in their cage, and that's fair. Right. But nobody thanks you out on the streets for doing your job, just as long as they don't escape, and they don't care if they kill each other in there.
Yeah,
because you need the room. Yeah, well, we need the room. It's sad, but I never did it for that. I took a year off from college because I wanted a break, and then I got a job I thought was just going to be for the summer. My car broke down on the day I went out to get my uniforms, and I bought a new car, so I figured it would be 4 years to pay off a car, and it turned into a career.
Yeah.
Didn't your family, wasn't your dad a corrections officer? Or no?
He had started as one for 3 months, and then he went over to maintenance, and he was the physical plant manager for 11 years before he retired.
Oh, okay.
He was a department head by the time he retired, well before he retired. So I knew some about it, but my father was in the energy industry before that, and he got laid off in the mid-'80s when the economy here collapsed, and he went to work where he could in town. And he was an Army veteran too, but that was the last thing he wanted to do. He hated being an officer. He couldn't wait to get over into maintenance.
Yeah.
He told me, I don't know how you did it that long.
I got burned out last year.
I'm gonna say
from what I know. I mean, I don't have that confirmed, but that's what I heard.
Thinking around October, November or something. He was pretty bad off there. Had quite an extensive surgery.
Wasn't it Cindy that had something with her knees?
I think she did, and then Ronnie. Yeah, it was, and they were not very far apart from what I've gathered through other sources. But yeah, poor Ronnie, man. I mean,
and like you said, if you can video visit, that's just as good, right? I mean, once a year.
In this day and age. Yeah, in this day and age, and especially those people didn't seem to travel a lot before. They both had careers,
right? I think
long-term jobs. They were just good old boy, good old girl type people, which I respect. Yeah.
Both sides of the family are good old boys.
Yeah, they're just regular people,
solid Americans. Yeah.
Yeah, like Cindy didn't go out there because it was expensive for both of them to go. Mm-hmm. So he said, I just want Dad to come, in the original part of the investigation. I think eventually, I don't even think Cindy did end up going out there.
I don't think she went out until like the night before sentencing, I want to say.
Oh, yeah, she came to sentencing, right?
Yeah, she was there for that, but I don't think as far as I know, she never made that trip until right before the plea deal was accepted and they did the formal sentencing.
And I always have to say this, but I don't think people realize that Chris lied to his parents.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And
they didn't see that until the discovery came out. And so many people hate on her, and I feel really terrible because A, you're never going to stop loving your child. That's never going to happen. And B, he lied to them and they believed it. They had no contact with him until sentencing day. And then they got all the discovery and read what really happened. And I'm sure it took months to process that in the brain too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They didn't even know they'd gone through a bankruptcy, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Cowboy,
I mean,
if you were to get married, do you think that they would be allowed to attend?
I doubt it. Typically that's a thing where they take the inmate to a courthouse and it gets done, and then they return them back to the prison. They may have a visit, just like they may have a special visit, it's called, but it's still under the regular rules of a contact visit, but nothing else. There ain't going to be any reception or nothing.
It doesn't happen at the prison. It actually happens at the courthouse.
We used to take them down here to the county courthouse. Yes.
I
attended a couple that way.
Yeah, not even letting him get out. I would think they would just bring in someone from the court to make it legal
And well, oftentimes too, they would bring in a clergy member. They have prison ministry and stuff, and they would conduct it in a visiting room for just them. That is another option.
Yeah.
Our prison chaplain used to conduct them. He was an actual minister on staff as well as what he did on the outside, and he would perform the ceremonies.
No wedding like he had with Shanann, huh?
Right. And he said that was the best day of his life.
I'll bet it was.
He still says that.
I can imagine that. And he threw it all away. It just, in my opinion, those two should have never gotten married. Hindsight is 2020. I've been divorced a couple times myself. So, hey, who am I to talk? But
I have this theory that I've thrown out there, and I think it's because I also have an autoimmune disease called MS, and I think that Shanann let Chris in when she was newly diagnosed, feeling her worst, and we always let people in that we don't intentionally mean to let in when we're in a bad space, whether it be mentally or physically. And I think he just reached out on Facebook, and she was like, I'm kind of feeling shitty today. I'll talk to this guy. And
when you're feeling down and less confident, I think, you're going to be vulnerable. It's like people when they get divorced, if they've been cheated on and somebody divorces them, when they're catching somebody fast on the rebound. It's a comfort thing. It's like eating a comfort food when you don't feel well. Same thing. It's a basic human need for comfort. And I absolutely agree with you on that. Yeah, when you're vulnerable like that, you'll let somebody slip through the cracks that you might not.
Well, Shannon has said so much. She said that she was not interested in him. He wouldn't go away. She tried to take him to like her colonoscopy, and she felt what idiot sits there and has to pee for 3-5 hours? I don't know.
3 hours.
Doesn't get up and go pee.
Not me. It'll happen. Now I am guilty of that a little bit.
No. Right.
I won't kick my bulldog off my lap right away if I got a potty, but eventually she got to move,
Yeah, eventually. Not for 3 hours. I'm not going to sit with my dog for 3 hours.
Hell no.
I wanted to make a comment on Darlene's comment here. Although Cindy, Jamie, and Shanann had hard times, they were always able to put it aside and kind of like restart again. And I think even with Nutgate, there would have been a way where even Shanann said, I will make peace with them, and I will, make an effort for you to communicate with them again. They weren't communicating after, remember, the whole wedding debacle where the invites didn't get sent out. They had children. They came back together again. And I think people always see it as they were fighting, and they really weren't. There
Yeah,
were
no, they were
still.
fighting. What are you saying? They were fighting, but they probably would have made up again. They didn't get the chance to
Yeah.
make up because they fought and they would make
Right.
up and they fought and they would
Right.
make up. And we're just on the last fight that they never got to make up. Yeah, I
Right.
was pissed
Right.
off at Cindy and Ronnie for doing what they did. But when you think about it, they were under so much stress and they probably were not behaving like they normally would behave because, I mean,
Yeah.
how often does your whole family get wiped out on that? You know, like I think
Yeah.
that we're a little too too ouchy with them. They have eased off, and I feel horrible for both sides of the family now.
I do too. Yeah. And
Yeah, I mean,
I think
they were
that, yeah, go ahead.
they were traumatized at the time. Yeah, and they said things other people didn't like. Now, on the other side of that, too, it would have behooved Shanann at the time the whole Nutgate thing went down to not broadcast her displeasure with her in-laws all over the internet right away. You see a couple
was
of examples of when people need to step back and just process stuff before they act.
Take a deep breath and maybe step away from
Sadly-
the situation.
Sadly, it all escalated to the outcome. I think the kicker for all that was Shanann broadcasting so much of that and inflaming an already bad situation. You know, putting it out there on the internet for everybody to see like that. I think that is probably finally what made Chris say, "I've had enough of this. I got to get out of this."
Yeah.
You know, I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying, in his little head, it's like, "I've had enough of this. I can't do this anymore."
I
And
think,
he was
like you
already
said,
cheating too. So.
they were two people who didn't belong together. And I think when she did start feeling better, maybe she felt bad and was like, well, I've already invested this time and he loves me. And because I think someone said she once said she felt like she settled for Chris. And that's kind of what I think too. And she was a good-hearted person. So she didn't just dump him after she started feeling better. You know, she was like, I'm going to look at this as a marriage and treat it as sickness and in health and give him a shot to.
Yeah, I mean, he's already done all this stuff for me, so I can't just kick him to the curb.
Right.
And, you know, he hung around like a hemorrhoid until he couldn't just cut it off. I mean,
yeah,
that's what happened. Yeah, I mean, he ingratiated himself enough by doing acts of kindness for her that she felt obligated to not just boot him, you know.
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion, allegedly, of course.
And he was doing the same thing with NK. He was, you know, busy making himself indispensable for her.
Yeah, I'm picking up Cashapp paint for her vehicle and stuff like he's a husband already.
Yes,
Come on,
the paint for the chip. I was like, what?
Yeah, where's your vested interest in this unless you ran into it or something? Unless you damaged her car or have her do her own business.
Yeah,
You
unless
know?
you're the one who bumped into it.
Yeah,
You guys, I have
holy
to dip
cow,
out,
man.
but I wanted to say thank you for hosting, Amy, especially since I think I had a premonition something was going to happen today. So thank you for hosting it. And RC, it's great to chat with you, and I hope we get to connect again soon.
Nice to see you, Jen. Absolutely.
Okay, bye,
Bye,
guys.
Jen. Bye. Okay, so let's get back to the marriage thing. Do you think that do you think Chris Watts will get remarried? I think
do.
he will.
I do. And he's got nobody else in his life anyway. I mean, his parents don't come very often because of logistical concerns. So I think he'll take that for that comfort.
What
really
do you think? Do you think that she has money or she doesn't? Have you noticed that most women that write that are writing for like relationships that they do have money?
Not usually, no. In fact, it's usually the reverse of that. However, they'll sacrifice everything they have to get with one of these guys. I don't really understand why, but yeah, it's usually the reverse. They'll drive a $500 car as long as they can to go see some clown in prison. I don't get it.
That makes no sense to me. But
no,
I mean,
they do it.
An illness to go along with it. So
I do it. It's wanting to be part of a different world, I think, in their mind, you know. It's some fascination with the criminal world. I guess I still have it, but I didn't want to marry an inmate. But I still keep tabs on the system just because I spent so long doing it, and I'm interested in it. But the ones who go marry these inmates that they didn't know from anybody else well before they were incarcerated, I never been able to understand that.
Never
I
have
don't get it.
either. In doing the research, I found this interesting thing. Will Chris Watts murder again? The murders of his family came out of the blue. No prior indications. Can it happen again? Do you think if Chris Watts was released, do you think he would unalive again?
I don't.
You don't? You think it's a one?
No.
This was a one-off?
I think it's a one-off. Yeah.
Why?
I think he was in a situation that he couldn't control at all, and it escalated to that point. Now, if saying that, there's a caveat there. Maybe if he got in the same type of situation again, he might. I don't know, but I don't see it happening. Just don't. I think there's so many dynamics at play in that one specific situation that I don't see him doing it again. A lot would have to build up to that.
Yeah, I don't know if I see him doing it again. I guess even have a hard time that he did it the first time. Like,
yeah, there are too many questions in my mind. I don't think he's not guilty. Of course, I think he's guilty. I don't know to what degree and whether or not he had help, and that's what troubles me in this case personally. I don't think he should be let out. Hell no. But to judge on whether he would do it again or not, I would have to know who all was involved in feeding in information about his situation too. And I think a lot of it may be, I would like to know if he opened all the mail that he didn't get for so long and suddenly just freaked the frick out because he realized that they were so broke. I want to know what all he finally discovered that would force him to even think about doing that, besides the whole cheating thing. People do that all the time with unaliving their family. So there's more to that story that we don't know. I'd like to know truthfully what went on when the cameras weren't rolling and what went on behind closed doors. What was the dynamic there between those two adults?
I would like to know too, because I think there is something major that we don't know about, because there's been people here and there have come out and said that he was kind of difficult as a child. He would go in the bathroom and Cindy would scream through the door, "What are you doing in there?"
"I'm just combing my hair."
"Nothing, Mom."
Right. Yeah, that's right.
But then one of his friends said that he would make him do things that were very uncomfortable and then would laugh at him. So he did have but that was only one person, and was it proven? We don't know. So, I mean, it's hard to know, like, what I actually go back to. It would have to be NK, which I am so torn by whether she did it or not, but it would have to be her in some form that would give him that push. But what was the push?
What I think. I don't know if he was manipulated by her on purpose, or if he was just that susceptible to something she might say to manufacture that motive in his mind, and that's what I don't get. Whether she gave him an ultimatum, or he thought to himself, "Well, I'm going to lose her, and I really love her so much more than my wife. I better take care of the situation," and if that caused it. That's what I'm struggling with in my mind.
Because I do believe he tried to have her miscarry by giving her the opiates. I think that happened for sure. So do you think if she had miscarried, then she would still be alive? I do.
Part of me wants to say yes, and then the other part of me looks at that and how long those two would have fought with each other because they had children together, and then I think on that case maybe not. Because you know for 18 more years, as long as children were growing up, she would not go quietly into the night. And dipshit had no guts, but still,
no backbone.
You're just not getting rid of that woman.
No.
Not through divorce proceedings and stuff.
No.
It would have been contentious for 2 more decades.
Yeah, forever. I would say forever.
And so that could be an issue, but I would think if they would have gotten divorced, she would have gotten remarried, I'm sure. You know.
And the epic fights her and Nicole would have had. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
my God, yeah,
I
those
hate
would have
her
probably
and,
been
her
physical
and
fights.
Cindy. And
Yeah,
Cindy and Nicole.
yeah. Nicole hung around the fitness crowd, and she had one of her good friends who also like owns a recovery center down there is also a mixed martial artist. So yeah, she probably picked up some stuff on how to fight. I wouldn't want to tangle with that one, and she was in shape,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And NK would have been able to beat Shanann in a
Oh,
heartbeat.
oh yeah,
NK
she
would have
would
been able to
have
beat
her.
Chris in a heartbeat, probably.
Oh, absolutely. I don't doubt that for a minute. Because with Chris, you know, and a lot of physical stuff is not just all about size. It depends on how badly you want to do something, and I don't see it out of that guy. He didn't seem to have much fight in him. Just so weak. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was all buried and it just came out that way. But such a pushover beta male type guy. Oh my
I know.
goodness. You know, that's what
I
astounds
would
me to
tear.
have that.
I would have tore him apart. I can't be with weak men because of, well, my personality, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have just like ripped him to shreds. He's a person,
Yeah.
he's a guy that I stay far away from because I can damage just for sport.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, sometimes you just do it. Yeah, I can't be with weak people myself because I won't respect them because they're weak.
Yes.
I'd been married to a weak woman before and it wasn't abusive type or anything, but like I can't respect somebody who isn't passionate about at least one thing
Yeah.
and willing to stand up for something. And people who always go along with everybody, I don't get it. You got to have something in you somewhere. Holy cow! I mean, I don't get it. You know, but
Why
with
couldn't
those
Cowboy
two,
handle me? Cowboy's a strong guy. Cowboy's married anyway, but why couldn't he? Are you saying that I'm weak? Because I think I'm pretty strong, but I don't know.
I can handle a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a little too much for myself. So that's why I'm single right now. I'm trying to get my
Yeah,
shit together.
I gotta stifle myself most of the time. So because I know me and I can. Wow. Yeah. So I gotta
Yeah.
keep that shit under wraps a lot.
Oh. The older I get, the easier it is too. Like I
Yeah.
guess maybe my passion for life is not so there.
Right. The older I get, the more I realize I don't know things, and I'm fine with it.
Yes.
I'd rather be happy than right. I'm like, whatever. Go be
Yes.
right and do it away from me. Get out.
Yes,
Get
and
off
I
my
don't need to
lawn.
fight with you. Your opinion's your opinion, and if I don't agree with
That's
it, I
right.
don't care anymore. I don't care.
That's
Have your
right.
opinion. You
Click,
don't have
block, scroll on by, whatever. Just get off my lawn is the way I see it. Yeah.
to get off
Keep
my
your
lawn.
shit across the street. I
Play
don't care.
someplace else. You can't play here though.
Exactly. Yeah. Just get lost. I
Okay,
used
so
to want to fight everybody. I
yeah,
don't
me
now.
too. I don't either. What's your sun sign?
I'm an Aquarian.
Oh, Aquarians are the only people that I think can beat me. I really do. I think Aquarians, because your guys' mind thinks too analytical for me.
I know
But
it never stops. I can't sleep with this shit every
that's
night because my
crazy.
mind won't shut
Aquarians.
off.
Always thinking.
Yes.
Okay, so I have one last question for you. So it's very common for prisoners to really not like child unalivers and their intimate partner unalivers. And
Yes.
almost all inmates in prison have been sexually, physically, and or otherwise abused as a child. Many consider it to be the very core and primary reason of their unstable lives. Do you think that is why that prisoners are so angry at people that do that to children?
I do, because so many of them grew up in dysfunctional households and never had a happy childhood. And then to be around other people who would snuff out their children that way just makes them crazy with hatred. I mean, in the officers and the inmates alike don't have any respect for a guy like that. You just don't. Not at
I
all.
also heard that like inmates would do anything to just be with their family again. That's all they dream about, they want, they think about. And so when somebody's in there because they took out their family, they have a really hard time comprehending that.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because they can't just ask to rewind and go back to what they had, or in their mind think, if I could just get out, I could be with my family again. Well, you can't because you ended it. So yeah, that would make it even harder.
You're done.
Yeah, I mean, you took that away. Yeah, and then like with Dingle Nuts, there, his parents are getting older. They're gonna pass away. He's not gonna have any damn family left at all besides the one he annihilated. You know, if Jamie won't have anything to do with him much, and his parents, obviously they're gonna pass away because they're older than he is. Well, maybe not before he does, but yeah, he's not gonna have anything to look forward to, not unless he gets married when he's in the joint, and really, that's not a real marriage. I mean, it's just not.
I think that might be why he remarries, because his parents aren't going to be with him and he knows that he needs to find some more support. So if he ever
I think
were to
so.
get married, I think that might be why.
I think so, and actually he ought to be used to that dynamic of not having a real marriage, because another thing that troubles me in this case is I don't know how much time those two had to work on a real marriage, because they were either living with or had other people living with them for so much during the time they were married.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Did they ever really establish a decent dynamic before other people moved in and children came along and all that? They didn't seem to really live with each other alone too long in the whole scheme of things.
Did Chris live in Shanann's house in North Carolina? I think he did, didn't he?
He did for a while before he ended up moving out to Colorado first, and then he lived with the Dietzes while Shanann was back looking
Yeah.
to, selling her house and winding stuff up in North Carolina. And then they lived with other people till their house was built. And then shortly thereafter, it wasn't real long, they had the child, and then you had grandparents living there again. So really, when you look at it, how long did they ever have to really establish it?
I don't think they did ever.
I think that could be a part that played a role in the whole unraveling of this family.
I think Thrive was a big part of it too.
Oh my gosh, that stuff, financial ruin. Holy cow. And the chemicals in that. People can say what they want. I tried that crap once. And
I've never tried it yet.
dude, I was scared I was gonna stroke out, and I felt so awful. I got this horrible headache, like I had just drank about 8 Red Bulls in succession, and stomach problems, and I felt dizzy and nauseated and everything, and I had to deal with that for about 4 hours. I ripped the patch off and I hydrated myself as much as I could to get the other portions of their 3-step crap out of my system.
Because it has that seed extract in it.
It has that. Way too much caffeine. My heart was racing. I'm like, this can't be healthy for anybody. And I've been a bodybuilder since 1990. I've tried all the crap they've invented since then, and that stuff should be illegal in my opinion. It can't be safe.
Would you be willing to come back and talk to us about the Thrive and his fitness routine and get into that aspects of the Watts case?
I would, yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being here today. Your shows are always big and popular. We've had quite a few people come in and watch. So we really appreciate you, Cowboy RC. You are a huge support, and we really appreciate you here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll set that up. I'll email you, okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Boy, I like that guy a lot, don't you? He is so full of good information, you guys. And Jen said she's listening in the car. So thanks for continuing on with us, Jen. Let me pop over into chat and see what you guys are saying, and then we'll wrap things up. I feel like it's a Friday for some reason. I've been doing a lot of lives lately, and I feel a little burnt out. NK said he was on that, and he did not know he fell asleep. Yeah, he fell asleep right in front of her, like just dozed off. I mean, wouldn't you think that maybe his thing, like if he was double patching and doing all that, and this will be all stuff that we talk about, but how on earth did he fall asleep on all that stuff? It wires me. Like, I can't take I can't take diet pills. I can't take cold medicine because the antihistamine wires me. And I think there's a lot of antihistamine in that stuff. But anyway, we'll talk about it another time. I'm so excited. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Oh. Be sure to go to our sponsorship. We have a sponsorship for today's live, Wild Deodorant. It works really well. I wouldn't bring it in front of you if it didn't. I will have the link in the show notes. There is the Parawomen. You get 20% off with my code, which is Parawomen. Thank you, LK, for supporting us. Oh my gosh. Your support means the world to me. I was just thinking I hadn't got a super sticker in a while. So thank you so much. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. You guys have made a huge difference in my life. And if nobody's told you this, and even if they have, I'm still going to tell you this today. I love and adore you guys so much. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, thanks, Cowboy, RC, and Jen for being here. Bye, guys.
I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me.
Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels fine. Feels fine. Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight. Here in the blue, I'm dancing and falling out, hoping for some time with you.